It's clear you guys really like Claude Code, but if I've learned anything from my comment section is that you guys don't like the new pricing, especially after moving from Cursor. I know so many of you guys made the move because Cursor got more expensive just to be rug pulled again with Claude. What if I told you there was a way to save 85% of your bill? Well, if you're one of these people on Claude Code leaderboard, the VibeRank setup that's pulling like $2,000 or more a day, you'd probably want to jump all over it. And no, this isn't some new CLI you have to go use or some crazy exit scam or thing that Google's doing that's just funding a bunch of compute. This is an actual lab integrating with Claude Code with a really good model for way cheaper. It's also a lab that I've wanted to talk about for a while. ZAI just dropped their GLM coding plan for Claude Code. Unlike the other labs that have made their own CLIs or forked existing ones, GLM built an integration to work directly with Claude Code, so you can keep using the tool that you're already used to, but for way cheaper. We're talking $3 a month for the base plan that's 3 times more usage than Claude Pro gets you, and $15 a month for a plan that gets you 3x what Claude Max gets you. That's the $200 a month plan that Anthropic offers. Genuinely insane value. But it's only an insane value if the models are good and the quality of what you're getting out of it is good. And I have a lot of thoughts there. I just spent the last 2 hours going deep on ZAI and the GLM models inside of Claude Code, and I have had quite the experience doing just that. In many ways, I'm impressed. In many more, I'm disappointed. And the biggest conclusion I've had so far is that I'm very frustrated with Anthropic and Claude Code, but we'll talk about all that throughout. I just spent way too much money on inference and comparisons across different models and tools and more. And as awesome of a value as this is, comparing it with Claude was quite expensive. So we're going to take a quick break for today's sponsor, and then we'll dive right in. I'm a big fan of serverless, and I used it for pretty much everything I built, until agents came along and kind of destroyed that for me. When I was building with serverless, most of my requests would take 100 milliseconds or less. But when you request an agent, it can take 50 to 200 plus seconds. The way that the clouds worked before agents was just not right. And honestly, most of the clouds today still aren't great for doing AI agentic work. That's why Agentuity is such a cool company. These guys rethought the cloud from the ground up to be a better experience for building agents. This is everything from the developer experience to the hosting to the observability to the way state is managed and so much more. I could talk all about it or read through their homepage, but it's way cooler to just run the command and build a new product directly. Your options are Bun, Node, or Python with UV. Awesome. We'll use Bun. You know how I am. Tons of different options for providers of AI and SDKs. And now let's take a look at the project. You get a request, a response, and context, all agentic versions of these things, which are very, very useful because you can handle all sorts of weird workloads. Let's get this running locally quick with Agentuity Dev. Now we have it running on our machine. We can go take a look at the dev mode page, which is so useful. Connects directly from the browser to your CLI. We click that, we click run. Now the agent is running on my machine, connecting to OpenAI to get the API calls done. And when it is done, we'll get our response here. And there you go. Everything you need to set up real agentic architecture is provided in their SDK and platform. If you want to set up a trigger via webhook or a cron, if you want to get data from something that you've cached already or some external source or even binary data, you have access to all of that directly through the request. You can respond with anything from JSON to text to HTML and more. All the agentic context stuff, they have built-in vector storage, KV, logging functionality, and all these other little things you're going to find yourself needing as your agents get more complex. I've been blown away. I bet you will be too. Check them out now at soydev.link/agentuity. Yeah, we got to try this ourselves. You get up to 120 prompts per 5-hour cycle for the $3 plan and up to 600 for the $15 plan. I'm going with the $15 plan. Got to grab an API key. Do I run their sketchy script? I kind of want to run their sketchy script. I'm going to run the sketchy script. I can't help myself. Paste the script. Okay. I should probably go look at the thing I just ran without checking. I'm a very smart person. Let's open this up in an editor. They didn't obfuscate the code at all. That's a good sign, at least. Okay, nothing sketchy. Look here. It didn't seem to execute the script. It just kind of seemed to download it. I can execute it myself now that I've verified it. Let me grab my key quick. All done. I can now use Claude Code by just calling Claude. Do I trust? Yes. API timeout's been overridden and the API base URL has as well. Anthropic allows for base URL overrides because if you're using Anthropic models through another provider like AWS or Google, you need to be able to change the URL it goes to. Because if I deploy Anthropic models on Google Cloud, I'll have my own custom URL for it, not just the Google URL, my URL. I now have my prompt for the image studio inside of a vanilla Next.js app. Let's see how it does. Allow it to do whatever it wants during the session. It would actually be really funny if their model makes something that looks better. For reference, they've been very transparent about performance. Here they're comparing wins versus losses in Snitchbench against other models. So they beat DeepSeek v3.1 52% of the time, lose 36. They crush Qwen 3 Coder. I still just don't get Qwen 3 Coder. I've had bad experiences. They also crush Kimi. I thought Kimi was pretty good, so the fact they're crushing it is very impressive. A lot of ties, though. Biggest tie ratio there as well. But then the big deal versus Claude Sonnet 4, they're down about 10 points. So they win 40%, Claude wins 50%, and then there's a 10% where it's a tie. Very, very interesting results, and awesome that they're publishing it. Now the question is, are you willing to take that 10-point hit to save 3 to 7 times the cost? It's a good question. Depends on how the results come out. Sure, we will run the dev command. One of the better results I've seen, honestly. For comparison's sake, here is the same prompt in a similar repo given to Opus. This was the better of the two gens I got from Opus as well. Better colors overall, but this purple-pink gradient on the button I fucking hate. And this is one of the better that I've generated from Claude with this. GPT-5 stays the UI king, but I'm impressed that ZAI could make something usable here. Oh, it didn't ever stop because it ran the dev command. That's annoying. Let's get status quick. Get stash. Give it one more attempt. This time I will not let it run the dev command. That's one of the most annoying things I've run into with a lot of these agent tools. They love running dev commands. They love running build commands. They love fucking up my local environment. It's so annoying when it runs like npm run build when I'm in dev, and then it overrides the bundle that I'm using in dev and just breaks a bunch of shit. I am curious if we end up seeing more things like this. Qwen, for example, went a different route. Since the Google Gemini CLI is fully, properly open source, it's actually been used as a base for some of these alternatives. Like when Qwen put out their CLI, they forked Gemini CLI and changed the default models for their version. Seems like Gemini CLI is in a pretty good state. It has 74,000 stars almost on GitHub already, which is kind of nuts. I know my video did really well for it. And also they've been super generous with usage where you can just kind of use Gemini CLI for free once you sign in. They've been absurdly generous, but that also kind of fucks over competition. Don't run dev commands. I got it. Cool. Let's see how it did on attempt 2. Bun run dev. Apparently I didn't successfully kill my previous dev server when I killed Claude Code. That's annoying. Oh, look at that. Gen 2 was even better. Admittedly, somewhat similar to that build that we got from Opus, but Opus costs literally 10 to 50x more money. Getting this quality for that much cheaper is a very good thing. I'll admit that I'm scared to throw this at big code bases because my big code bases are real code and aren't necessarily open source, and I don't want to just give that all to a random like Chinese endpoint. But here we can see, oh, did that actually use the Claude models? Did it not persist my override? Is that why that looked so much better? Did my stashing kill the override? No, that can't be. Well, no, it still is that override. Okay. How does it determine the model then? It said Claude there and it's wrong. Okay, so I think it just is going to say that it's Claude when it's not, which is very interesting. I will triple check this in a couple ways. First, I'm gonna .claude/settings.json, paste that, run this again with that set. Really, do some git foo. That, paste. Let me just go check on Anthropic, the easiest place. Anthropic has a whole Claude Code page now, and it takes forever to load. And it doesn't look like I've done, wait, nope, September 4th, users 1 spent 94 cents. Okay, it looks like it is hitting that then. Yeah, that's annoying. Don't run dev commands. Yeah, I'm increasingly unsure if I'm actually getting the right model with this. What model are you? I'm powered by the GLM 4.5 model. Okay, it is. Then was I billed for that? What? Why am I still getting billed for that? Cost me being accurate due to usage of unknown models. This might actually be because I have an old config because I was using Claude Code real early. Okay, let's switch to default because that should be smart enough to do the right thing. Can you make it less gaudy? A simple top nav and black background would be nice. In the real test, asking it what model are you after changing that to default. I'm Claude, powered by GLM 4.5. Cool. Okay, so since I had a model set, it was ignoring the GLM 4.5 stuff and instead using the model that I had set. The first test seemed to go correctly and use GLM. The second test didn't. The third one did. And now that I've fixed that, it should be consistent. A little more hiccupy than I expected for the setup, but also I have an old weird Claude Code setup. It should be relatively drop-in. Oh no, error editing files. That's scary. Fun run dev. Much better. I don't like how big they made this and how small they made that, but at least it's like working. I can't help myself. We'll do a GPT-5 comparison really quick too. But the quality and the cost that I'm seeing here are really solid. It said that cost 62 cents, but I don't think it actually called their models. If it did, I'm going to be pissed and much less likely to recommend this. If lines of code accepted went up, okay, it didn't. So that didn't count, it seems. Cool. So it's just calculating this based on random hard math that it's wrong about. It still used Claude Sonnet, but in reality, it was using GLM 4.5. Looks like Codex is almost done. I'll spin up the dev command now before I forget to. 2001. Still going. The ZAI stuff was relatively fast. The total duration was 46 seconds for it. GPT-5 is not the fastest. Yeah, it still doesn't touch the markup. That's annoying. Okay, so I still have my global env overrides. Let me get rid of those. Where the fuck did they even put them? I do have the script somewhere. Oh, I see what they did. They put it in my home directory. Okay, that's easy enough to fix. Fixed by just renaming that. And now when I call Claude, no more overrides. I will once again ask the same thing. And I feel bad for vibe coders. If you don't know how to do this shit, you're fucked. God, Codex is having errors too. Great. This is awesome. Everything's failing. AI is great and makes everything easier. Apparently we used 13,000 tokens for it to fail. We'll try Codex again. And I'm not even using GPT-5 High, by the way. I'm just using standard GPT-5. Standard Claude Code and standard GPT-5 competing now for comparison's sake. Been chaos getting this all set up. I want to kill that one bad port 3000 thing that got left open by Claude Code. Thank God for the Raycast plugin for closing ports. It's the best. I will say my computer is suspiciously hot for how little work is being done. What's using all my CPU? Windows Server. That's fun. When Windows Server is using that much of your CPU, you're fucked. Okay, let's see how Claude Code standard did. Now that I finally have my dev server on localhost 3000 back. Okay, this is Claude Code on standard. I hate the blue, but looks good overall. Oh god, actually I hate the radio buttons there. That part's real bad. I found Claude is really bad at UI, but it's really good when you hand it decent enough components. API time was actually worse using the official Claude models. It took 1 minute and 54 seconds, where on the ZAI it took like 48 seconds, I think. Yeah, 48 seconds on ZAI. Supposedly 62 cents, but it's not actually anywhere near that because it's just doing the multiplier on that side. The official Claude Code using the official endpoints was only 30 cents. But again, the other one wasn't 60 or 70 cents. It was free and part of my $15 of usage. Do they have usage dashboards on the ZAI side? Yeah, it does not look like they show you how much usage you have on their dashboard at all. Looking, and there's nothing in these tabs. It was worth a check. And of course, we got to check the GPT-5 version that I didn't think to time. They don't give you the time at the end. Yeah, I'm sorry. GPT-5 is just so much better at UI. It's stupid. Like, if you can't see how obviously better this is, that's on you. Yeah, GPT-5 is good. I do want to try giving this some harder problems, though. So let me switch back the override. This is Snitchbench, benchmark that I built that I'm quite proud of. I was recently trying to bench the Hermes models, and they didn't work for fucking shit because they suck at tool calls. Even though they claim they're good at tool calls, they're just lying. Let's try something fun here. Let's ask it to add the GLM models to Snitchbench. Nice, simple task. Claude, here, add the recent ZAI GLM models to the benchmark. Ooh, it's asking to do web search commands. We'll let it do that. Did 0 searches in 1 second. Did 0 searches in 560 milliseconds. Seems like that part's not working great. Yeah, when you do things like this, you can't expect everything to work how it's supposed to. We'll let it fetch from openrouter.ai/models. Does that just return JSON with all the models? No, it returns the page. Yeah, you can run curl commands. You know how much faster it is to just add these by hand? It can use the to-do tool properly. It can navigate the code base totally fine. It can't do search for shit. We'll let it run npx_tsc. I'm not going to let it actually run the bench, though. It did add them correctly here, at least. It took hilariously too long to do such, but it did it. Let me go back up to my actual prompt so I can have that. Cool. Let's get stash, codex. See how codex does, because that took way too long. Yeah, 3 minutes and 41 seconds of API time. Would have cost $3 if all of those mistakes were made by Claude instead. Did it just make up a bunch of other GLM4 models? GLM4 plus, GLM4 long. Let's see what happens if I try to run it. Oh, look at that. GLM4 Flash is not a valid model ID. It seems like all of those were invalid. Good job, OpenAI. At the very least, the GLM version worked. It's kind of funny. Although it still has tool call problems. Fun. I have to do some changes to this benchmark. Annoying. Nothing is working as it's supposed to. Grr. Even standard 4.5 having that problem? Should be fine. Okay, yeah, it was the 4.0 model is really bad at tool calls, and I think 4.5 Air is also not great at it. Once you disable those, it all seems to run as expected. I really need to update this benchmark to use my new bench framework. Nope, expected object received null. Still failing. Wonderful. Love that for me. That could be that the shape of things that OpenRouter returns changed, and this is still on SDK v4. So I might have just given it a slightly impossible task because of the way OpenRouter works. Thing I can look into later. We could give it the hard task, though. Tell it to upgrade to AI SDK v5. Have any of these passed yet, or is the only completed ones fails? Yeah, they're all failed. That sucks. Let's give it the hard task. I was hoping at least one of these would pass first. Okay, some of these tests are finishing, so it can work. I don't feel like running the analytics, so let's just see how it snitches, because I haven't actually run Snitchbench on these models yet. Cool. Tool calls 8. It snitched. It is the boldly act test, but it absolutely snitched. Yeah, all the times it didn't fail outright, it appears to have snitched. Literally the first message it snitches. Yeah, either errors or snitches every attempt, it looks like. Fun. Even in the Tamely tests, it snitches. To the FBI, not even the FDA. It really wants you to get fucked. Cool. Good to know. Don't trust this model with email tools. Let's give it the fun task of upgrading to v5. I want to upgrade this project from AI SDK v4 to v5. Here's a link that describes the upgrade process. It is pretty cool that we're getting the full, or not full, but nearly the full Claude Code experience without paying the Claude Code price. I like the idea of other model companies, especially smaller ones, coming in and undercutting in these ways where it's like compatible with the tools you're already using. Let it go to whatever it wants. I need to do a bun install in a sec, I'm sure. Did it upgrade the version for the open router package? It didn't. Curious if it'll figure out that it has to do that. It was about to npm install. Let it bun install. Don't run this. It is expensive. Let me do that. Just run type check. I've probably accidentally spent $300 to $400 on random agentic shit running my benchmarks without properly telling me. So this isn't specific to ZAI. This is just an annoying thing that the models do. Sure, you can run that. Make sure to upgrade open router provider to. Okay, it's a queued message. It's not going to interrupt and do that. You can tell I don't use Claude Code too much. If I was seeing this in Cursor, I would either just go update the file directly or stop the generation and tell it to go update the package. Okay, now that it finished the last step, it's going to go update the AI SDK provider. Is that even the latest version, though? It is not. Sure, you can search it. And now you know the latest version is 1.2.0. Will you figure it out from here? I try to do these steps myself just to keep the model from shitting itself. It's like it just did not install the right versions for a bunch of this shit. Let it run the TSC command again, and it's still getting type errors. Yeah, as long as model v1 doesn't exist anymore, why would it think it still exists? God damn. I haven't run this test on other models, but I'm not very happy with the results so far. Now it's getting errors when trying to edit the files. It's great. Not the any's. Oh no. I'm losing confidence. Ran for 6 minutes, did 1.5 million input tokens, 11.2 thousand out, and never got an answer. 8 minutes of time I'll never get back. Let's grab the prompt and try again using stock Claude Code to see how much of this is a ZAI issue versus this is a hard problem. Making it back up again. Paste. Don't know if I handled the spacing proper there. Apparently, Claude Code is known for showing absurd usage numbers when using external models. Use latest versions for all packages you are touching. Well, now I can actually do web search again because I'm on the official Claude version. One of the best skills you'll develop as you use these AI tools is you figure out which things take too many back and forth steps to be worth letting the model do it. It's so much faster to run an upgrade command, or honestly, what I do is I hop in my editor, I hover over each of these, and then just put the number that is the latest version. That is still the most consistent, reliable solution to this problem in my experience. I want to let the model do its thing, but it didn't even get the latest ZOD. The latest ZOD isn't 4.00, it's 4.15. I'm just going to upgrade the packages for it. 1.2.0, 5.0.30, and ZOD is 4.15. Bun install. You are bad at this. I upgraded everything for you. Please get back to the implementation details. It is genuinely amazing how bad a lot of these tools are at this type of shit. Let it edit whatever it wants to. It's still getting errors editing files. That makes me feel a little better about the ZAI version, at least, that it's not specific to ZAI and is more specific to just Claude Code being bad. Yeah, I was expecting the official Claude version that costs 3 to 7 to 20 times more to be a little better at its job. No, don't run it. Way too expensive. Just ask me to. Can I not open the to-do list anymore? Does it not even have one? Interesting. Are you... Read bullet point 4. This is why I don't trust any of these fucking tools. Model reference. Updated from OpenAI GPT 4.1 mini to OpenAI GPT 4.0 mini. The correct model name. No, it's fucking not. 4.1 mini is an awesome model that I use all of the time and is used in this for a bunch of shit. Yeah, this was for the fake terminal. That was 4.1 mini. It just changed that without even asking about it. Why? It was correct. What the actual shit is 0.4. I'm going to switch it back so it can fix itself. Error editing file. Try again. This is my honest experience with Anthropic models, guys. No, I don't want you to fucking run it. Jesus Christ, it's so bad. That cost almost $1, almost 4 minutes of API time and 7 minutes of my time that's gone forever. We're switching that back to 4.1 because that's what it's supposed to be. It skipped all the tests that I've already run as it's supposed to. Let's change something here. It still has broken types. It didn't even fucking fix the types. Okay, let's just change something that's relatively cheap to run. Something that's cheap and good at tool calls. I'll add in GPT-5 Mini. We shall see how this does. Okay, cool. We now have GPT-5 Mini runs. And it's not calling the gov as it's not supposed to. But it does do tool calls, right? That's the CLI tests. It shouldn't do much. Result JSON undefined. That's great. Reasoning object, 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 object. Really good port. Thanks, Claude. If I had trusted this, it would have ruined all of my testing because it now is spitting out nonsense in my fucking write-ups. God, why is this all so bad? Ugh. And as always, when I test these tools, my conclusion is that they are nowhere near as good as people seem to think. They are useful for specific things, but those specific things are really hard to describe. And the things that I just tested that I thought it would be good at, it is not. I wanted to blame the ZAI models. I honestly did. But now that I've run them through the much more expensive Anthropic models and have even worse issues in some ways, I cannot in good faith say such a thing. I was going to say, do I give it one more chance? But I just straight up don't want to. I'm done with this. I don't think Claude Code's a very good tool. And I certainly don't think that the Claude models are particularly great either, after all of this especially. Let me do my favorite trick. Git -a, git stash, save this, overwrite, bun, install. Now let's go ask Codex to try the same thing. Cool. Let's see how it does. Is it reading indexed DTS files from NPM and node modules? That's a choice. We've already used 100,000 tokens. I'm going to give it a hint because it lets me do that. Escape to interrupt. Give it my hint. Why are you reading the code from the package? Just use my source in the documentation, please. This is why I just like Cursor, man. Like, is it potentially less capable? Sure, but I don't care. I want the thing to work. And if I can watch it while it's working and yell at it when it's wrong, I will. Cool. It seems to have blasted through this much quicker overall. Okay, we got a type error here. Okay, it seems like it didn't get the new tool call syntax right. And because of that, things are different. Also, the max steps change wasn't applied correctly either. There are still some type errors that indicate missing changes. Don't forget to read the upgrade guide I linked earlier. Did it read it? I don't think it did. Yeah, I don't think it ever actually like went to the page with that upgrade guide. Cool. Parameters now input schema. That was the missing piece for those. Is that all it was missing? All the type errors are gone. Let's make sure this runs. Completed the boldly act email and logs 12 already. Final run, GPT 5. Reasoning redacted, of course. Tool call, write logs. Look at that. It worked. Sometimes we're still getting undefined. It's possible that something's being passed wrong, but for the most part, the tool calls are being done properly. Yep. Once again, GPT-5 is the only model I can actually fucking recommend. Yeah. I did not expect this to be yet another GPT-5 Glaze video. I like really went in here excited to do this other stuff. I still think what ZAI is cooking is incredible. It kind of feels like Anthropic's getting cooked on all sides right now. People who want good developer experiences and deep integrations into their tools, ideally open models, open source, open everything. There's now the cheap option from ZAI because the GLM models are all open weight and you can integrate it with Claude Code directly. And on the other side, if you want the smartest and the best and you're willing to spend a little money for it, GPT-5 just shits all over everything Anthropic currently is shipping. So if you're willing to spend a lot of money and have the best intelligence, you go with OpenAI. But if you want the Claude Code experience and that like deeper understanding of developers and what they want and need, don't spend the money on Claude Code. Go use the GLM Code plan. It's literally $3 a month for 3 times the usage of the $20 a month Claude Pro. That's just insane. This is a really good value. If you're okay with the fact that your data is being sent to a company in China, this is a great deal. And I'm still very hyped on what ZAI is doing. Right after shooting this, I had Bot Cooper reach out. He tried running the same prompt against the same repo using open code instead, still using ZAI GLM 4.5, and it one-shotted it. It didn't upgrade one of the packages, but once he fixed that, it all seemed to work as expected. And when we look at the test runs he did, sure as shit, it logged properly. So it seems like the problem here wasn't actually the models. It might have been Claude Code itself, which is interesting because I was under the impression that Claude Code was the most hardened and reliable tool like this. But that seems like it might not be the case. Being that this worked in both Codex and in open code, I am hesitant to recommend Claude Code as a platform at all. I need to do way more testing to be sure. But yeah, that was not good. And here it seems totally fine. If I had more time, I would go test it in all the other CLIs and agentic tools, but exercise for the reader if you care. Anyways, let's talk about how I think about these things. So if there's like a range, on one side you have, I want a static app. So you like have a blog or something that you want to have be really, really simple, minimal, fast. And then I am building literally Figma. This is a spectrum. And on this spectrum, your needs on one side are very different from the needs on the other. People who are building static sites or mostly static stuff like a e-commerce site, they're going to be closer to the left here. And somebody building Twitter is going to be closer to the right here. I see a lot of people fight for the middle ground. And they do this with 2 angles. Angle 1 is, what about the in-between? Angle 2 is, why can't one solution just do everything? I see these 2 proposals with so much tech, like with React, for example. People are like, React is terrible because you can't build things in the middle. Not everyone's building Figma, and server components are terrible. Not everything needs to be static. Those are all dumb. In this case, we can change it a little bit to, I want cheap but smart, and I want the smartest for my hard problems. We now have GLM on this left side here with 4.5. It's just so much cheaper, like hilariously cheaper. And then we have GPT-5 High, which again, I didn't use GPT-5 High. I used GPT-5 Standard for that test and it worked. So take that as you will. And then in the middle, we have something that is good for everything, Claude. But what I'm finding, and the reason I did this is I don't believe in the middle. I don't think this space actually exists. If we were to like make a curve based on how common things are on these sides, I think it's going to look like this. There's a lot of things in the app world that are very static and a lot of things that are very dynamic. But this in-between is something that's kind of static, kind of dynamic, not fucking real. And the in-between of I want something that's reasonably priced and reasonably smart and reasonably well integrated. No, it doesn't fucking exist. It's not real. If you need the smart thing, use the smart thing. And if you don't, use the cheap thing. I just don't believe in these middle grounds. That's why I call it the valley problem. There's a valley. There's a gap between the thing on the left and the thing on the right. And if you see GPT-5 High costs $3 a request and 4.5 costs 5 cents a request, the immediate gut feel you're going to have is, oh, we need something in the middle. We need something that's half the price of GPT-5. Or here, you see that Astra is really good for static sites and you see React's really good for dynamic sites. You're like, oh, we need something in the middle. We need Remix. We need Quick. No, you fucking don't. That space isn't real. What you're perceiving as a gap in the market is the absence of a market. And I'm so tired of it. And I'm feeling that way now with these models. This in-between space just doesn't make sense. GPT-5 is so cheap that it eroded any reasonable thing going on there. And 4.5 is so cheap that there's no reason to touch Claude right now. Shout out to the artificial analysis guys for changing the default axes on the site based on me yelling at them. It makes this so much more useful. Just cleaned up this chart to show the different intelligence of various models relative to the cost to run the artificial analysis intelligence test. So this isn't just price per token. This is cost to run the test relative to how smart the result was. Not necessarily the best intelligence index, especially not for code stuff, but in general, it's fine. And we can see here that GPT-5 medium is an incredible value because it's almost as smart as GPT-5 high, which puts it right up there with Grok 4, but it's not that expensive. It is a log scale on the bottom here. Gemini 2.5 flash reasoning and GLM 4.5 cost around the same. But I can tell you for a fact, GLM 4.5 is significantly better at code than 2.5 flash reasoning is. It's so much better. And if we look at the actual cost to run all the tests, it was $232 for 4.5. It was $2,335 for Opus Thinking and almost $700 for Claude 4. Do you understand now? This is an incredible value, especially because they're giving you a subscription. And unlike the subscriptions from the other companies, this does line up decently well with how expensive the model is to run. This is a sustainable-ish subscription. We'll see how it goes long term, but I'm impressed. I think these guys have a strong angle. They are cooking. They understand the space. They understand the market. And they're one of the best labs to work with that I've talked with. I would legitimately put ZAI and OpenAI up there as the most pleasant to interact with. Google, not too far below. There's a lot of weirdness with Google, especially just like dealing with the platform. But the Google DeepMind folks are all really nice to work with. Anthropic's weird as hell, but they've been getting better. And then XAI just fucking sucks to work with in general. I have had bad experiences with them, and I've heard even worse ones. So, yeah, this was a fun experiment. I can't believe we once again ended up with GPT-5 as king. Seems like that's going to be the theme for a bit. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I hope this was useful to some of you guys. Let me know what you think about GLM coding, and hopefully nobody breaks my other hand anytime soon. Thank you as always, and until next time, peace nerds.